Hello again, everybody. The Bearded Prepper here. Thank you for coming back. Today's kind of a heavy Monday to start off the week with. Started off the day having to tank up my truck or fuel up my truck and realized that gas had gone up. Gosh, I think it was at least 20 cents a gallon over what I got early last week. It was, here in Virginia, it was $3.50 a gallon. I'll tell you what, it's almost like we just can't get a break when it comes to either supply chain break-in or fuel cost. I know it's tough for it to go back down once it comes up, but still, the average person out there is hurting. Not just the gasoline, but anytime fuel goes up, it's going to cause products to go up because they have to be shipped to the stores by train, plane, or big old truck. Also, the cost of manufacturing goes up, which causes increased operating costs for the manufacturers, so the product goes up because of that as well. Anyway, all that gloom is quickly becoming part of everyday life for us. So, beyond that, it appears that China has surrounded Taiwan. Taiwan, who makes the vast majority of semiconductors in the world. So, those of you that followed along know that it took me 3 months or 3.5 months basically to get my truck back to get a transmission in it because there was a supply chain shortage. New cars were not available last year, semiconductor shortage. And, China didn't just surround Taiwan. They actually conducted semi-strikes, or mock strikes is what I should say, not semi, mock strikes on Taiwan. So they were not just doing maneuvers and surrounding the island of Taiwan. They were actually simulating attacking Taiwan. I mean, that's scary stuff. Of course, don't fear. The White House says it. We're monitoring the situation. We're confident that we can help protect Taiwan from China. So, in the meantime, Taiwan is saying, look, China, if you come in here, it's going to be an act of war. It's going to set off a massive war. I mean, we already have China and Russia colluding together. We already have them admitting that they are friends. They're going to plan petroleum pipeways to China from Russia. They're going to try to work together to, basically, without saying it, devalue the American dollar, make the American dollar no longer the petrodollar, and do what they can to help us along our way, to hard times. But with that being said, I bring all this up because today's video is encouraging you not just to get prepared, but to get prepared now. I've already talked to you recently about just doing something. Get some food, whether it be rice and beans or ramen noodles. Someone suggested in the comments, which they're absolutely correct. Even if you can't afford a lot, it's something that you can at least get by on for a little while. Get something. And, for those of you that are better prepared, even beyond that, I hope that you have essential products like, some people debate whether it's essential or not, but it is awfully convenient to have toilet paper. So I would suggest that you have some extra things like that on hand. If something does trip off, I shouldn't even say if, I should probably say when. We don't really know what it's going to be or when it's going to be, but when something trips off on the world stage or significantly impacts our country, we're going to have issues with supplies. We're going to have issues with cost. So it's not just about being prepared and having your essentials, your bare essentials that you need to get by on for a while. Food, water, shelter, warmth, protection from the elements. Some essentials like sanitation, I keep extra things like even distilled vinegar, can be used to clean with. It's a disinfectant. Clorox, pretty inexpensive. Things like that. You can use as long as it's non-scented, just straight up chlorine, you can actually use that to sterilize water also. So, make sure you have a water source. Don't just be depending on that water tank, in the the public water system, because that's eventually going to run out. I mean, hey, keep in mind, if you have, unless you have a tankless hot water heater, if you have a hot water heater, you always have that as a very temporary small amount of backup water. But how are you going to access water? How are you going to clean it? Have a plan in place. Beyond that, just thinking about what is essential for me to stay healthy and get by for a little while will get you a long ways. I was in a populated area today. I was in a good sized town, and I'm always looking. I'm always assessing, seeing what's what and where I can get what from, or what would I do if I was caught up in a bad situation, which way would I go, stuff like that. Not really being paranoid. It's just kind of ingrained in my everyday life now. But I realized that I was in a college town. I was in a town full of parks. I was near a college that was full of gardens. And those gardens, sprinkled throughout those gardens, were fruit trees in full bloom. There were plums. There were figs starting to bud up. There were cherries on the tree, green cherries, apples, pears, serviceberry. If you don't know what that is, you should learn it. It grows natural throughout most of the U.S. And it's one of the first berries, especially fruit-bearing trees, to produce in the spring. They just finished their bloom. They've got little green berries on them. So, if you're in a populated area, know your surroundings. You don't have to be out in a bunker somewhere. And if you're not a person that lives in the country, if you don't have a choice but to live in a populated area, know your surroundings. Know where you can get what now, so that you'll know where the resources are when you need them. Because those fruit trees would supply a plethora of food and such as that when they produce. So just being aware of your surroundings is important, and having a plan in place. If times do get harder or something kicks off on a broader scale, for those people that are my age and older, maybe a little bit younger than me, we remember what it was like after 9/11. I hope we never experience that again. But it was a terrible tragedy, and everything shut down. We saw what happened, all of us did, recently, just a couple of years ago during COVID. Everything shut down. If you didn't have it, you were going to have a difficult time getting it, because most places were closed. And, who says that we won't see that happen again for one reason or another? And I'll leave you with this. This is something that's been weighing heavy on my mind. Some of the experts, especially experts of the Asian governments, China government, I'll just say that, has noted the high number of single, young, able-bodied Chinese men that are coming across the southern U.S. border illegally. They're not with a family. They're by themselves. I'm not saying they're all, meaning harm, but based off of his intel, he believes that the Chinese Communist Party is sending people here. And if something does kick off, they're just laying here waiting. And they're going to create havoc on our grid, on our everyday life. They're going to try to create fear. Even it may not be a large scale attack, but it could be even a lot of smaller, medium size attacks, because people that are wanting to cause harm are going to try to impact your everyday life, make you afraid to go through about your everyday life, take away some of the essentials that you need to make you live in fear. So I encourage you to be prepared. Just looking around at what's going on, looking at the many things that could cause a significant disruption in your everyday life or your supply chain. I don't see how you can sleep at night if you're not doing something to make sure that you're at least a little bit prepared. And if you do live in a place that you have a little bit of open space, even if it's a small backyard, even if you just have a patio where you can fit some pots or some buckets or some containers, grow something. This is a great time to plant greens. When we get into May, which is not far away, you can plant pretty much everything. And you can produce a lot of green beans in a small place. You can produce a lot of lettuce or spinach in a small place. You can take a squash plant that'll just keep producing for a while and put it in a container, and it'll run out and it'll produce for you. Do something. Most of all, just be aware of what's going on around you. Seek the wisdom of your Lord and Savior. Until next time, God bless. I'm the Bearded Prepper, signing off.